Hello again, and welcome to the Author Roundup. This special segment of the Book Connection show showcases emerging indie authors who join us for a discussion of their newly published books. Join us for a conversation with our next guest author. Hi there, welcome to another episode of Author Roundup. Thank you for being here today. My name is Emma, and I will be your host for today. Today, I am joined with author Margaret Planting. Margaret Planting is a wife and mother of 3 children with a background working as a nurse and studying holistic healing methods that include Reiki, massage, and guided imagery. She discovered her love for writing with her first fiction book, Meet Me at the Tree, and went on to write her second book titled Ruby Red Sneakers, A Journey to Healing and Awakening to Your Truth, that addresses her personal journey to healing and awakening to a loving truth. Hi, Margaret. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. So you've written 2 books, a fiction and a nonfiction. Your fiction is titled Meet Me at the Tree, and your nonfiction is Ruby Red Sneakers. Can you tell me a little bit of both? Can you tell me about both of those books that you've written?
Yeah. So I discovered my love of writing back in 2017, and I always loved like the fiction drama books with twists, kind of like Gillian Flynn and Paula Hawkins. And I wanted to kind of create my own, and so that's how Meet Me at the Tree started. Basically it's a drama with dark twists, but I loosely based it on my experiences from my childhood. I come from a family of 12, and I'm the last of 12 kids, so I had a lot of stories to draw from with a lot of drama. And
so what inspired the idea for your latest book, Ruby Red Sneakers?
So my inspiration really came from me wanting to be a better person, I guess, for my children. I reached a low point in 2023. Some people call that a dark night of the soul, if you want to label it. And I decided I needed to find my joy and worth. I always liked to write, and journaling was something that had always helped me in the past. So I said, I have to do something. And I wasn't really doing it for me at the time, as much as I wanted to be better for my kids. And so thank God, because I don't know if I would have done it if it was just for me. So I guess I began to journal, and I just started putting stuff out there to the universe, or my higher source, as I call it. So I guess what inspired me to write the book was, after all that journaling and opening up, I had to quit a really numbing coping mechanism. And it's like it opened this door to love and joy that I wasn't seeing before, that I didn't even think was possible. And I simply did it by journaling. Like, I didn't have some magical method or, some guru or anything to help me. But I was experiencing, and I was having all these fun synchronicities. And I thought, when as I was discovering my worth and all this joy and love, and because I liked writing, and I had written a book before, but of course fiction where I was safe, I decided it was time to be brave and write something that could, that might inspire someone else that was feeling non-worthy and lost and everything. And so I wanted to share my experiences, and for that reason, but I didn't know how to really go about it. But that's when I thought, I was getting all these synchronicities with the Wizard of Oz for some reason. So that's how I found my theme.
Really cool.
And I went with it, and I had fun doing that. It was really fun putting it in that way. I did kind of see my journey as just these past 30 years of being in tornadoes and the black and white days of Kansas, to when I finally surrendered and opened up. It was like opening that door in that scene in The Wizard of Oz, where she opens the door and it's like, oh my gosh, there's been it's like Munchkin land and it's
Yeah.
wonderful. And, so it was really cool to share those synchronicities and experiences. But, it wasn't all obviously rainbows. And I did
Yeah.
have to go down the road of talking about, my past and that. So that wasn't easy, but I think it was important to share, so people know that they're not alone, even if it's only one other person out there. So that's why I did this book, but obviously it's not easy to tell your
Yeah.
personal feelings and get that out there. I kind of started opening up a little bit back in 2017, but it was a fiction book, and so it was easier for me to put stuff out
Yeah.
and make it more fun and just
Yeah.
I. But yeah. So sorry, I digress.
Of course. No,
Go
I
ahead.
think it's hard to share in your personal experiences more, I feel like, and show your vulnerability as well, especially through like a published work. And also just going through writing and the process and like becoming like a writer and author, like those have challenges as well. So with your book, is it like a memoir? Are there actual like journal entries that you've written and that you started out through this transformation for you in your book, or how is your book laid out for readers?
Yes, I definitely had things that really meant a lot to me, like the synchronicities. That's kind of how it started out, was I was sharing like all the things that personally happened for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and through my journaling is how I felt I was getting messages. Um, I don't know how to say that. I wouldn't call it like automatic writing. A lot of people like to label things,
Mm-hmm.
and give it a term, but I wouldn't, but I wanted to share, I guess I made sure to share those important things where I felt like I was getting messages through my own writing. And I feel it was from my higher source, because when I would reread it, it would make me cry. It would make me see things and get a new
Yeah.
perspective. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to share those for sure. But I did lay it out in a way like that had to go back to my past. And then but I did start it out with all the fun kind of stories that happened that got me into it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was your writing process like? What was your writing experience like, or maybe like your writing routine for this book in particular?
When I was first getting the inspiration, before I had decided to do a book, I was like journaling every day. I was finding inspiration wherever I looked. Like I did a lot of listening to other people's stories too on YouTube, and I would write things down that meant something to me as I would go. But also just in the beginning, before I even started looking for other inspiration and guidance with other people's stories, um, it was more just me sitting down trying to, like, I had these lists, like my joy list, this list, that, and then I would just have my questions. I almost compare it to my name is, obviously Margaret, but I kind of laughed myself. It's like, are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. That's kind of how I journaled. And I didn't even know what I would ask some of the times, and then I just all of a sudden find myself writing for hours. And I don't know. I mean, I could be more vague. I guess my process was, yes, I had to do it in the morning when everybody was gone and it was quiet and I had
Yeah.
that time and I could really get lost in my writing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it was just me journaling, um, like things that that happened to me and why I thought, I don't know. It was almost like I was bringing my questions and thoughts and putting them on paper, like to my higher source, who I call God or whatever. And as I would write, I would discover things. And it's almost like I just get this whole new perspective. And it would feel like minutes, but like all of a sudden my whole day was gone and I forgot to do the laundry and I forgot to do like all this
Yeah.
stuff, my appointments and everything. And so,
Yeah.
and then sometimes things would just hit me while I was doing things. I'd have to stop and I would just start writing
Mm-hmm.
nonstop. So I had those moments, and
Yeah.
um, there was just there were particular moments that were just really important, and I'm like, I got to get this down, and those were important for me to include in the book. But
Yeah.
yeah, so but as far as, I feel like I was able to write more with this book than I was the time before because my kids are in school.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't working as a nurse, I was able to be home. And so I had a lot of quiet time to reflect and
Okay.
go through this process.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, you have been a nurse or are
I
currently
have my nursing license
you have
now,
your
yes.
nursing
And I
license.
have worked, it wasn't until it's been almost 2 years now,
Mm-hmm.
that I stopped working as a nurse, just to be home with the kids. Cause it's more like
Yeah.
my husband appreciates it because we have 3 teens right now that don't have their
Mhm.
driver's license yet. And so I'm kind of like
Oh,
the taxi driver, the home thing.
yeah.
But also it's allowed me, because he doesn't need my financial part of it, it's allowed me to explore my hobbies and my
Yeah.
personal interests, which I've never done before.
Yeah.
So it's been really
I bet
nice. And
that's
writing
amazing.
is one of those things. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
And taking that dedicated time for yourself and finding out what you like again, you know?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with your background then, your book blends like medical and holistic healing, correct? So how are those things intertwined in your book, and how have those like impacted your personal awakening, I guess?
Back in 2017, I believe, was when I was figuring out that something wasn't right because I wasn't feeling joy in anything I did.
Hmm.
Even though I had all these wonderful things in place,
Right.
wonderful husband, wonderful, like nothing felt right.
Mhm.
And so I was like, you know what, and I knew that like when I picked certain jobs, like as a nurse and things that I had done, it wasn't the healthcare system just wasn't right for me. It wasn't the right fit. Cause I really liked more personal one-to-one, really like time with people. And so that in 2017, that's when I started my holistic journey. So I was trying to incorporate it into my nursing. So I took like some holistic courses, guided imagery, looked into, did Reiki courses and
Hmm.
like energy work and yoga. I was going to also
Oh,
be a yoga instructor, but my back went out. So I had a lot of physical injuries then that stopped me from going down this road that I was going to go into.
yeah.
And but the what I realized was I knew I loved it, but there was something that was still wrong. And I know it was because I was still not facing myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to do all these things. I was interested, but I wasn't dealing with my own issues. And
Hmm.
so I think that's why my whole back injury came into play, stopped me from being that instructor because I was going through the motions, but I wasn't really fully understanding. And when I got my injuries is that's why I say I think God put that in place because that's
Yeah.
when it stopped me and I had nothing else to do. I'm like, well, I guess I'll try this writing. I can't do anything else anyway. So, I mean, I
Okay.
was
There's
out for a
something
good
else.
year. And so that's
Yeah.
when I discovered my love for writing. I did incorporate, those ideas like when I did those courses and Reiki and guided and what I got from that. And so that kind of started me down that road. But what I'm realizing now, even now, like as I'm going through this journey and after writing this book, I I think I was always trying to learn other people's methods, if that makes sense. Even with writing, I never took a formal writing class. I thought, well, you can't be a writer. You didn't take a class.
Mm-hmm.
And same with like energy healing, right? Well, you don't know how to be a Reiki instructor, or you don't have this or that. What I'm realizing is it's really not about that. It's not, I don't need to label it. It's like I'm finally understanding like I can just write what I have to write and the message I want to
Yeah,
get out to
exactly.
people. And same with like if Reiki, I don't have to say like, oh, I have some particular part. I just know I like being with people. Like I took massage courses too. And so I always knew I was like a person that wanted, I think just so for instance, my mom, even just going to act as her hospice nurse and staying with her for a few weeks at a time
Mm-hmm.
to help her. It's like I don't have to say I'm a Reiki instructor or this or that. It's more
Yeah.
like I know that when I'm with her and I'm doing the things for her and the cares with her, and I know how healing that is. And so I do get rewarded from that. And same with my book, like like writing this Ruby Red Sneakers, I know from what I got from it that somebody else is going to feel that too. And
Yeah.
it's not like I have answers or know the best way, or I'm Gandhi and I have this super close thing with God. I think it's just nobody's like above anybody. It's like we all have this
We're all
inner
human. Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
knowing of what's right for ourselves and this unique gift that we can give to the world. And I think so, as much as I'd like to just keep Ruby Red Sneakers to me and my personal, because it was my personal healing and it meant so much to me and it's given me a new perspective. I
Mhm.
know I have to be brave enough, like, to have this interview, to put my
Yeah.
book out there and
Yeah.
just let it be.
So I do want to ask about, so your book is nonfiction. I think your book is very unique because one, the title, and two, we mentioned it a little bit, the Wizard of Oz metaphor,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool. So for your title, it's such a beautiful and expressive title. Where did the idea for your title come from, and what does it symbolize for you?
Um, so like I said, when I started this process, I was getting a lot of like that opening up, like, and asking my questions. I was getting a lot of synchronicities in my daily life that, and the Wizard of Oz theme kept coming up. It was weird. Like my husband was gone. I think I had this story in the book, but to kind of sum it up, I was like looking into shows that I knew he wouldn't be interested in. And so I had house myself. I'm like, oh, I'm going to look at this story. I was wondering about reincarnation. And so I started looking up and I was, for whatever reason, like Judy Garland popped in my head and I started looking at things, about her life. And what was weird is it's like it comes after the fact. I don't know how to describe it, but, um, I was seeing the license plate gum like all that week. And I always notice license plates. My husband makes fun of me, but I was always noticing this one license plate that said gum all the time. And I'm like, oh, they must live in our neighborhood. There's that plate again. And so as I'm doing this thing, watching the show on reincarnation and looking up this thing about Judy Garland, um, there was an article on her that talked about the Gum sisters, and
Oh
I don't
my
know how to
God.
describe that, but when I saw that, I'm like, oh, it's like, okay, did they knew I was going to be looking this up, or seeing that license plate, but whatever. And then I forget what the other one was, but there was a couple other things going on. But I did ask. I started asking for signs and threes. Like I'm like, okay, if this is really something, or if I'm just weird,
Yeah.
I need another sign. So I was at the park the next day with my dog, two dogs, and one of them's a Havanese. And a lady came up to me in the park, and she she
Photo.
was like, "Oh, I love your dog," but her dog died, and she's like, "I had a dog like him, but he died." And I'm like, "Oh, what kind of dog was it?" And she said, "A Korean Terrier." And I said, "Well, I don't know what kind of dog that is." And she said, "It's like that dog Toto from The Wizard of Oz." And so
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know how to explain it when those synchronicities happen. It's like everybody kind of looks at me weird if I like when I try to tell my husband, and he's like, and I get it because it's not meant for anybody to know. It's just for me. I think it's just an acknowledgement to say, hey, we're here, we're listening to you.
Yeah.
And they kind of put these things in my spot place. But anyway, so there was some things going on with that. That was just one example. But that's what gave me the idea. I'm like, you know what? I want to write this as like a Wizard of Oz, because I did.
Yeah.
I felt like Dorothy living in black and white and the whatever,
Mhm.
and then opening up to this new world. So that's what gave me the idea. And there's just so
Yeah.
many fun analogies with the Wizard of Oz. So
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know.
yeah. Like the flying monkeys and like
Oh yeah, yeah,
you mentioned the flying monkeys and the Wicked Witch of the West, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Which
Um,
yeah.
so what would you say to someone who's struggling to believe who they are, or someone who has maybe struggling with the same things that you have struggled with?
Um, just I that's again another thing. Surrender Dorothy. That was another aha moment. I when I would look up, like when I would listen to
Yeah.
YouTube inspirational people, I would get references from Wizard of Oz again all the time, and that surrender Dorothy really stuck with me. I forget the name of the guy that said that, but anyway, I would say surrender. And what I mean by that is just let go of what you think is supposed to be right. So it's mainly people that struggled with worthiness,
Mm.
wanting them to know they are worthy.
Mhm.
And you can drop the guilt, shame, blame game, is how I like to call it.
That's good.
And just, for me, I just had to surrender and know that I didn't know it all,
Mhm.
and be okay with exploring things the way, for whatever lit me up. Like for me, it was journaling, writing, and so whatever it is, don't worry about finding the perfect thing to give you an answer or having to do something somebody else's way. Your way is the best way. And when you just surrender the idea of what it's supposed to be and just do it, just do it, explore for yourself and give yourself that time because you are worthy. And um, and it will come if you give yourself that time to actually explore. For me, I had to let go of a really bad coping mechanism in order to open myself up to that.
Yeah.
And it happened quickly. I was surprised how quickly it happened. I mean, for me, just on a personal note, it was drinking. And I never, for the past 30 years, I'd never gone more than 4 days without a drink to cope, with my stress and stuff,
Yeah.
or my numbing process. When I really decided, and within 2 weeks, I was getting things. And I always say it's like, it started out really fun for me. But it can get challenging, and don't beat yourself up over that.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but it's worth it. For me,
Mhm.
this whole process, it got scary. It's gotten scary a lot, but it's so worth it. The new perspectives, it's like the awareness.
Mhm.
It hasn't made me a perfect person. It's just I have joy now that I wouldn't have had before. I have that worthiness and joy that can't be taken from me, no matter how much I mess things up. And I try not to, but I'm like everybody else. But
Yeah.
so don't just let go of perfection, doing things the right way, that kind of thing. Just let go of that, and do it your way. And you are worthy, and your way is unique. And there's somebody out there that needs your story, that needs you to be you, and you have wonderful gifts. And I'm discovering my gifts, and I love them. And I don't know if they help anybody but myself right now, but um, I don't know. I do feel like there's somebody out there that needs my
Yeah.
story, Ruby Red
Definitely.
Sneakers.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably more people than I know about, but I know it was very healing for me, and I hope it inspires somebody else. Because I've received a lot of inspiration from other people, and I know how much I've appreciated other people's stories. And so I'm just trying to do the same.
Yeah. What has your family and husband, children, friends thought about your book, and what do they think about you being a nonfiction author? What are their thoughts?
Um, Surprisingly, my husband has been a really big supporter. So he's extremely practical. So all these
Yeah.
synchronicities and things I've been getting and I'm sharing with him would just drive him nuts. And I'm like, okay, you're right. This is for me. This is not for
Yeah.
me to shove in everybody's faces. This is my healing and journey. But
Mhm.
surprisingly, when I told him, like, no, I'm not going to make this book public. I can't. I don't want anybody to know about my stuff, my journey. And he was the one that actually got me I was surprised because I thought he wouldn't, because he didn't like the type of stuff I normally would bring up. Like, I don't mean but he wasn't, like higher source.
Familiar.
He
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
like talking about that stuff. And so I
Yeah.
thought for sure he'd want to agree and shut it down too. And surprisingly, he was the one that said, if you don't ever do this, you'll never know. Like, and that's what you're going to regret. So actually, so my husband's been very actually encouraging and proud that I'm writing the books, which kind of surprised me. And then, um, you know, I think they would get a little he would get a little disappointed when I let the house go and be a disaster and forget appointments and stuff like that. But he was forgiving.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, they're supportive. They're
Good.
good, but they're more. I mean, I've had my son come up to me and just say, "Mom, I'm so proud of you that you stopped drinking," and it just made me want to, cry. But they're so loving and supportive, and I'm so lucky that my my negative thing didn't affect them like how badly it could have probably. Like they're just so sweet and wonderful through everything, and so I'm really lucky.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they see how, much joy it's brought you and it's, made you a better person. And it's always, nice to see, your family member or something doing something that they love, so I'm sure they love that you found.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention my daughter with my first book, Meet Me at the Tree. She had to do a book report at school and she used my book and read my book. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't
Oh,
know.
that's so sweet. That's so
Because,
cool. I
it's
bet
like,
she was like, my mom wrote a book.
yeah, so that was kind of neat, because it is weird. Because for me, I just look at, I'm like, oh, I was really proud when I wrote it. And, because I had never really tried to do anything like that I like to do or take time for something like that. So I am really proud, but sometimes I can't, like, I still have trouble like saying, oh, I did that. Usually
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
No, it can be hard.
know.
What about so I know your book is freshly published this year. But what about any other like reviews or feedback you've received from people that you don't know? Have you had any reviews come through about your book?
So with the first one, Meet Me at the Tree, that one, people said it was, I did see that they said it was really fun and an easy read and fun, and it was hard to put down. So that was good. I'm like, oh, that's good.
That's a
And
good
then,
one.
and then one person said they appreciated that there wasn't a lot of fluff. And I kind of laughed at that because the only reason there wasn't a lot of fluff was because I didn't know how to write fluff. Like I said, I never had a writing
I'm not
class.
gonna go in
So
that.
I was like, yeah.
Didn't say
But
that for other writers.
I'm learning a little bit more now, just because I do want to write a sequel to that one. I am looking forward to getting back to my nonfiction. Um, that does include a lot of personal stories, but I do love the nonfiction way of going about it. And so my next one will kind of spin off of Meet Me at the Tree.
So how is the self-publishing process like for you? How did you discover Balboa Press?
Well, I decided this time around because, like I said, with the first book, I was really just, I mean, it still is. It's just a hobby. So I just wanted it in book form.
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't know a lot about proper sentence structure and I wanted to clean it up a bit. So I just kind of randomly found an editor, not knowing what I was doing the first time. But this time I wanted a bigger publishing company because I did want to I thought it was important to get this book out more and I did not know how to advertise and I'm not big with social media. So I tried to go with a little bit bigger company that could help me with that route for getting it out there. Even though, like I said, I'm still like, I'm trying not to be afraid of the whole marketing and putting things
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah,
but
it's
that's why
hard.
I went with Balboa because I
Yeah. Yeah.
But luckily for me, this time around, I knew how to use Grammarly.
Yeah.
So because my editor even said, he's like, I really did, and he didn't
Find that
have,
many.
he didn't have a lot for me to correct or change,
That's
which
like the biggest process of, or that's editing is like the biggest thing that can set back your book getting published is the editing back and forth. So that's good.
yeah, so that went a lot better this time around. I don't know if that's more because I discovered Grammarly and how to do those kind of proper sentence, but also probably because though it was just kind of stuff that's straight from my experiences and
Yeah.
not, I don't know, made up.
Yeah, like fact checking or anything like that. Yeah.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
probably easier. Yeah. What advice would you give to a writer working on their own first book and is hoping to publish their book for the first time?
I would say don't worry about how a book is supposed to be written or someone else's way. Your story is what matters. And so get your story out and get it on paper. You can worry about the rest later. Like I said, you can utilize those sources Grammarly later after the fact, but getting your story down and what you have to say and the way you want to say it is perfectly fine. It doesn't need to be, don't bog yourself down doing all this research on what a book should look like or how it should be. Your story is the important part and just get it down. And for me, I think a big thing was committing to a time.
Oh,
So like it took me a while with my first book because I had younger children and I only gave myself like one Saturday morning a week, like in the early morning. I was going to
yeah.
sit down, but I was going to sit down no matter what and do that. Even if I felt I couldn't write, I would force myself, like, that's my time. I'm going
Yeah.
to sit in front of the computer. I'm going to, and things would come all the time. And I would just find myself writing. The other
Mhm.
thing I would suggest, like I said, with doing it your way is the way to do it. So like I tried writing outlines, for example, like, because you're supposed to have an outline and know where things, but for me personally, it was, I'd be throwing those outlines away all the time because it would just come as I wrote, like the next idea, and then ideas would build off each other as you write. It just,
So outlines like
just
didn't.
keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it has to, for me, it was easier to write when I wrote stuff about stuff I knew and experienced. Obviously that makes it easier, but if you have a great wild imagination, go for it.
Yeah.
Whatever lights you
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. And so, so for this year, what kind of personal and like professional book goals do you have besides like marketing? What other things are in the pipeline for you this year?
Truthfully, I'm just really excited to get back to fiction. And of course, I'm going to hold some of my truths in there and get those on paper. That's how I
Yeah.
do that. But I want to follow up to Meet Me at the Tree.
Nice.
Because again, even though that was fiction, it had a lot of my personal stuff in there, just in a different
Mhm.
way. I was more in the blame shame back then.
Yeah.
But so no, I want to follow up to that book. And
Yeah.
I think I don't know,
Yeah.
I just have so much fun with it. It's fun for
Yeah.
me.
And this,
Not to say that I wouldn't do another personal story if that came to be. Um, I did have a thought of interviewing all 11 of my siblings and making that into a book because there'd be some wild stories there. But I don't know, because I felt like I've dealt with that already and I kind of want to move on from that, if that makes sense.
uh-huh.
But if I could be the observer and if they would even want to do that or agree to that. But that was an idea, but that's just an idea. But going forward, yes, definitely I'm hitting the nonfiction sequel to Meet Me at the Tree.
Nice.
And my hobbies, I've been really enjoying them. So I discovered I love pottery and quilting, so I'm doing that on the side. But it is all about my hobbies right now. It's not really
Yeah.
career for me. I keep my nursing license in case I want to jump back into that, or my husband needs me to jump back into that. But for now, I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing.
Doing
And
what you like to
if
do.
it
Yeah.
turns into something more, great. But if
Yeah.
it doesn't, I'm okay. And life is good.
Yeah. That's
So
wonderful. I'm so happy for
yeah,
you.
thank you.
Well, Margaret, is there anything else that you want to say before we go?
Oh gosh, no, just that I struggled for so long with programming. We all have programming, right? And it's when you're not seen and you're not by the people that matter most,
That's so
and you
true.
get that, it's tough when you grow up in an environment where you feel unworthy and this and that. And so I just want people to know that you are worthy, and whatever lights you up, do it. Just whatever time you can give to it, and let yourself discover your joy. It's there, because I didn't think it was there. And if I could find it and open myself up and get these things from what I call higher source, call it
Mhm.
whatever you want. I know anybody can. I know it's there. It's going to be unique to you and whatever you love to do. And so go for it. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. And I have to remind myself that every day. I still have
Beautiful.
triggers. I still am human,
Yeah.
but I'm worthy. And so are you.
That's so great. Yeah, I think the first step is addressing, like I can't, go day to day without, addressing what I need and things like that. So I think it was so brave that you took the 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 journey to transform into, someone that you find joy in now and that you have all these hobbies. I think that's wonderful. I think also with being a mom, you get wrapped up in, like just doing
Oh,
things for everyone else and not, taking time for yourself and really dealing with any, personal issues and things like that. So I think that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah. Because you do. It's especially a lot of, it's easy to see it as selfish. But what's funny about
100%.
that is when I started finding my joy, it made other people around me happier. So it's like, hello, it's not, it's needed. It's
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
My joy is wanted.
Hmm.
And so that's something I try to keep in mind too. It's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Margaret, for being here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your book. I wish you the best of luck with your further writing journey into fiction this year. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you liked this interview and wish to purchase Margaret's book, Ruby Red Sneakers, you can head to balboapress.com through our online bookstore and purchase it there. It also is available on Amazon and Barnes& and Noble. And if you do, please leave a review for Margaret. I know she would love that. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.